My first name is Masato, and last name is Tawata. I'm very happy to have invited here and meet you again. This is the third time in 3 years, right? As I was introduced, I'm a physician. I've been practicing medicine for more than 40 years, but my talk today is not for health, but rather this. During the last 8 years, I have been contemplating, I have been thinking how to enrich my life, how to optimize my life. So I have learned a lot from these people. They are my role models of life. Based on what I have learned from these people, and also by adding my own experiences, I think I have found the best ways for me, at least at present, in 8 aspects, in 8 domains of life, as shown here. You can see in the syllabus, right? Because of these, I think I can enjoy the rest of my life. I can enjoy every day for the rest of my life, no matter what happens in my life. Had I known all these at your age, if I had known all these at your age, I think my life would have been quite different from the present one. But of course, I cannot prove it, okay? Concerning the number 1 through number 4, I introduced you in previous opportunities, right? Today, I would like to focus on number 5 and 6. And if I will have a next chance, I'm going to introduce you number 8 and 7, which completes my whole story. So from now on, I'm going to share my ideas, number 5 and 6, under 2 subtitles. The first subtitle is the way you think determines your destiny. And the second subtitle is enrich your life by utilizing psychology and neuroscience. Okay? But concerning the first subtitle, many of you may be skeptical about it. But I hope some of you or many of you may accept it after my talk is over. Okay? So, anyway, I hope you can find some clues or hint in order to optimize your life. Okay, so without further ado, let me start today's talk. Let me share my ideas. Let me start from psychology. There are many psychologies, there are many sects or parties in psychology. But my position is you can pick the best part of each psychology as long as they are useful to you, as long as they are useful to me. Okay, so let me start introducing Adlerian psychology first. Adlerian psychology was established by Dr. Alfred Adler. He was a psychiatrist. And his psychology, or Adlerian psychology, can be summarized as shown in this slide. You can see in the syllabus, okay? For example, many people say that they want to change their way of life, but they also complain that they cannot change their way of life. Adler says that's because you choose not to change at the gut level. Because if you change your way of thinking, you must have to face the unknown world. People are afraid of stepping into the unknown world, so they don't choose to go stepping into the unknown world. That's why they cannot change their way of thinking, their way of life. Okay? And also, the separation of issues are very important because if you have a child and if you have a problem because your child doesn't study, but the studying, to study or not, is your child's issue, not your issue, not parent issue. So you cannot step into his issue, but you can propose to make it as a common issue. by proposing for example, providing tutor or providing a tuition for crime school, such and such. But if a child refuses, then there is no way for you to do it. So we need to think this about the evangelist Neva. God, give us grace to accept with serenity the things that cannot be changed, courage to change the thing which should be changed, and the wisdom to distinguish the one from the other. Okay? And others says that every problem can be attributed to a problem in human relationship. If you have a trouble in human relationship, others says, listen to the voice of a bigger society. And this idea is very, very important, especially in this global society. I'll come back to this later. Next, I want to introduce you Frankl Psychology. Frankl Psychology was also established by Viktor Frankl. He was also a psychiatrist. He was thinking about the meaning of life since he was 4 years old and established Frankl Psychology. So let me read all these. Under any circumstances, life has always a meaning. What you should do in your life or the meaning of life you should fulfill has already been given to you somewhere in your life. There is something that needs you or someone who needs you. The something or the someone is waiting for you to be found and to be actualized. We are the beings who are always being needed and waited by the something or by the someone. No matter how hard time you have right now, don't throw everything away. If you don't throw everything away, surely someday should visit on you when you can say yes to your life. Even if you cannot say yes to your life, surely someday should set light of hope, saying yes to you. He says that we don't need to expect to our life. It's the other way around. It's us who are being expected from our life. So try to find the expectation from your life. That's what he says. Okay? And so this idea is called a Copernican revolution in the meaning of life. Okay? But he didn't forget to maintain a sense of humor under any circumstances. Okay? So, this is very, these are very, I think, amazing. But the more amazing thing is that he established these ideas before he was confined to concentration camps. Okay? So the confinement to concentration camp became an opportunity to verify his ideas, whether he can survive or not, and he made it. That's why, so it's not a coincidence he survived the Holocaust, but rather an inevitable consequence. Okay, so if you have trouble in your life, please refer to Adlerian psychology. But if you have really trouble in your life of death, then please refer to Frankl Psychology. I think you can find the light of hope in the midst of despairs or at the extreme end of despairs. And he also proposed an idea of serendipity. He said that it is not the ordeal itself that makes us unhappy, but rather our attitude toward it. In other words, we can turn misfortune into fortune by changing our attitude, by changing our way of thinking, by changing our paradigm. And it is called serendipity. Serendipity is a talent to turn misfortune into fortune. And also, he proposed to make a pause before you respond to a stimulus. If you respond to a stimulus immediately, most of the time, you get unfavorable, undesirable reactions. Whereas if you make a pause 6 seconds or longer, then you get favorable responses. Now it's called 6 seconds rule. Have you ever heard it? It's to control your anger. For example, children are mischievous. They make mess, but don't, respond immediately. Try to make a pause 6 seconds or longer. And if you do so, then you get, excuse me. If you do so, you get parasympathetic dominant reactions, which means that your blood pressure, heart rate decreases, your stress hormones such as epinephrine, norepinephrine, cortisol decreases, and your control executive center is maximized. The executive control center of the prefrontal cortex can be maximized. So now it is called 6 seconds rule. Okay, so try to make a pause before you 6 seconds or longer before you respond to a stimulus. Okay, so let me give you, this is an achievement obtained from behavioral science. And let me introduce you first. Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law says task expands to fill the time available for its completion. Does it ring your bell? Can you imagine what's the meaning? Okay, let me give you an example. Okay, so for example, your boss. Suppose your boss asks you to prepare to present a report, and he says he gives you 4 weeks. Okay. 2 weeks, 1 week, 7 days, or 3 days. The interesting point is that the quality of your report never changes in 4 different cases. That's what it means, because you do nothing during the first. If you are given 4 weeks, you do nothing during the first 3 weeks. That's what it means. So let me rephrase this as the following. If you do not set a deadline for a task by yourself, that's important. You can never finish it. So please set a deadline for a task by yourself. Okay? And shorter duration. If your boss gives you, for example, 4 weeks, then you at the longest 1 week. Or 3 days. 3 days is enough, okay? So this is Parkinson's law. Okay, so let me introduce you the second one. The Pareto principle. The Pareto principle is also called 80-20 rule. This means that roughly 20% of causes leads 80% of the result. 80% of your results are obtained by your 20% of effort or labor. 80% of productivity of a company are produced by 20% of employees. Okay. 80% of all beer or wine are drunk by 20% of wine or beer drinkers. That's what it means. So if you combine these two, in this one, for example, you can save, if you are satisfied with 80% of your productivity, you can save your time. You can save 80% of your time. That's what it means, okay? And so, and also, don't forget Parkinson's law. Okay? Okay, now let me move on to neuroscience. The achievement of neuroscience. And here I am going to introduce you neuroplasticity, epigenetics, whole brain thinking, and neural system, and how we can apply these into our daily life. Let me take water. neuroplasticity. In the past, people believe that the brain is a differentiated organ, so it cannot grow or regenerate beyond certain ages, and only deteriorate. But nowadays, it's totally untrue. Scientists believe that a neural network can be deepened by our new learnings, by our experiences, by our behaviors, and by our practices, such as meditation. And also, it's been found that neurons can be regenerated. Okay, so and a major part of this neuroplasticity is explained by epigenetics. Our DNAs have not changed during the last 200,000 years. 20万年. Okay, so your DNAs are almost identical with those of Buddha, with those of Leonardo da Vinci, Newton, Beethoven, Mozart, Beethoven, and Picasso, and even Einstein. Okay? So, but the expression of those genes are dynamically regulated on and off by your thought, by your behaviors, by your habits, and by your practices, such as meditation. For example, 30 minutes of meditation for 2 weeks change the expression of stress hormone proteins, stress proteins. It's been verified. So, in other words, you can modify the expression of DNA by your intention that it means. Okay? Let me skip this neural system and whole brain. Well, as a matter of fact, I introduced you this idea 2 years ago. Whole brain thinking. Our brains are divided into two parts. Left side and right side. Okay, left side of the brain administers, for example, language, equation, in mathematics, and logic and theory. So it's called roughly, scientific brain. And right brain administers image, intuition, and altruism or curiosity, imagination, creation. So it's called artistic brain. Okay. But what is important is to integrate both left side and right side. So it is called whole brain thinking. But we live, in this modern society, we live in a totally left brain dominant society. But let's utilize our right side of the brain. Okay. And let me introduce you mirror neuron system, mirror neuron. Okay? If you protrude your tongue facing a baby monkey, this baby monkey has not been trained whatsoever. But the next moment, the baby monkey will do the same behavior. Can you see the tiny tongue here? It's inborn. Innate, talent. The primate have this kind of ability. It's called mirror neuron system. Mirror neuron means to mimic other people's behavior, other individuals' behavior. That's why we acquire the language. And also, it is considered to be very important for communication. And to have compassion and empathy. And this neurons were discovered by Giacomo Rizzolatti, an Italian group of investigators, in 1996. So it's been only less than 30 years. So we need much more investigation. But this is how we are biologically connected. This shows how we are biologically connected. Okay? But this very mirror-neuron system, which renders as the connection between the close people. That's why we have tribalism, regionalism, and nationalism. But what happens if we face people who are unfamiliar to us? As Adler says, we have fear, when we face the unknown world, unknown people. So we have to overcome this problem, right? So this is how we are being connected. The first one is mirror-neuron system. Okay, we are connected biologically by mirror-neuron system, but we need to overcome when we face the unknown people. When we face the unknown people, right? So, as Adler said, listen to the voice of a bigger society. Okay, so why don't we listen to the voice of the biggest society? Biggest society means the universe. Let's consider iron atoms, for example. We all have iron atoms in our blood, right? In red blood cell contains hemoglobin, and which contains iron atoms. And iron atoms is essential. Iron atoms are essential for the transportation of oxygen. Otherwise, we cannot survive, okay, right? So we all have iron atoms. So, have we ever considered the origin of iron atoms? It is known that sun contains iron atoms by spectral analysis. But according to the latest astrophysics, sun cannot form iron atoms within itself by nuclear fusion. In stars like sun size, up to helium atom can be formed by nuclear fusion. In about the triple size of sun size, oxygen can be formed by nuclear fusion. In stars about 8 times of sun size, silicon can be formed. So iron cannot be formed, Iron can be only formed in much heavier stars, or the explosion of those stars at the end of their life, which is called supernova. Have you ever heard of it? Supernova? Which means that iron atoms once had been scattered all over into the space, right? And then condensed again to make a new stars and planets like solar system in which we live. So we all have a legacy of the evolution of the universe as iron atoms. So we are not only connected with each other, but we are connected to the universe, right? So you can think bigger than yourself, right? Okay, so how can we apply these ideas into our real life? Okay? Reality versus thought. Which do you think comes first? Many people may think that, I don't know how you think, but many people may think that reality comes first and then thought follows, right? But let me introduce you an idea the other way around by Dr. Dispenza. Dr. Dispenza says that your personality is created by the set of your thinking, choice, behavior, experience, and feeling. And this set makes your personality. And your personality creates your personal reality. If you think in the same way to a certain reality, the same thought leads to same choice, and same choice leads to same behavior, and same behavior creates same experience, and same experience creates same feeling, which leads to same thinking. So you perpetuate, you repeat this over and over again for the rest of your life, which means that you cannot change your reality, personal reality. Right? In order to change your personal reality, you have to escape from this cycle. Right? So thinking is the best step to escape from this cycle. So change your way of thinking in order to change your personal reality. Okay? But in order to make the change in changing thinking effective, you need to meet two conditions. Okay? You need to meet two conditions. The first one is that you need to embrace the unknown world. You need to be curious to the unknown world. You need to be generous to the unknown world. You need to embrace the uncertainty of the unknown world. You used to be that way when you were a child, right? But once you become an adult, most of us become conservative. We're afraid of to stepping into the unknown world. But try to step into the unknown world. And there's one more thing, and this is more important. And think bigger than your present reality. Think bigger than your present reality. Okay? Think transcending your present reality. In other words, become a different person. That's what it means. You need to become a different person in order to change your personal reality. Dr. Frankl, for example, he was confined into concentration camp for 3 years. He was always on the edge of death. He could have died at any moment, but during the confinement, he wrote in his book that he was imagining himself as giving a lecture to medical students concerning the experiences he had in those concentration camps. He could have died at any moment. Can you believe it? But every distinguished person in human history was doing this, knew this, embraced the unknown world, and also think bigger than yourself. Think bigger than your present reality. As long as you remain in the same character personality, you cannot change your personal reality. Okay? So visualize who you want to become. Do your best to realize it. And believe you can make it happen. But you can go better. You can outsmart this by behaving as if you have made it happen. That's what that Viktor Frankl was doing during concentration camps. After he was liberated, he really literally gave a lecture to medical students, the experience that he had in concentration camps. But we mimic this attitude. Every distinct person in human history did this. Okay? So, well, as a matter of fact, I introduced Leonardo da Vinci. These are the 7 ways how he lived. You can see in the syllabus, right? Maintain in subtitle curiosity and unrelenting quest for continuous learning. Commit to test knowledge and learn from mistakes. Refine senses to enliven experience. Embrace ambiguity, paradox, and uncertainty. Balance art and science. Whole brain thinking. Cultivate grace, dexterity, fitness, and poise. Recognize and appreciate interconnectedness of all things. If you verify, if you scrutinize all these 7 ways, they are quite relevant from a standpoint, from a viewpoint of modern psychology and neuroscience. So he had good reasons to become one of the most creative people in human history. You can become like him if you mimic his ways, Okay? So, my advice, or I advocate you to cast a spell upon your life. Why don't you cast a spell upon your life? 自分の人生に魔法をかけてくださいということですね。Okay? You can make a magic in your life. So becoming a person you visualize. But you can go beyond. You can go beyond. Please leave a room for becoming a person you never imagined. You can do it. And this one above is self-actualization level. And this one below is self-transcendence level. You can do it. It's up to you. The way you think determines your destiny. That's what it means. Okay? So my take-home message. I must be willing to give up what I am today in order to become what I will be tomorrow. Do anyone of you remember who said this? I introduced this maybe 2 years ago. Or you can omit these two words into emphasis because I added these. So, I must be willing to give up what I am in order to become what I will be. Can anyone of you guess who said this?